Right now, as you watch this video, tensions in the Middle East continue to rise. Military forces are moving, alliances are forming, and millions of people around the world are asking the same question. Is this simply another geopolitical conflict? Or could something deeper be unfolding? More than 2,600 years ago, a prophet named Ezekiel wrote about a future coalition of nations that would rise against Israel. His description has fascinated historians, theologians, and prophecy scholars for centuries. Today, many people believe the events we see in the news may resemble what Ezekiel described long ago. But what does the Bible actually say? To understand that, we must begin with the words of Jesus. In Matthew chapter 24, the disciples asked Jesus a direct question. They wanted to know what signs would signal the end of the age and his return. Jesus answered that people would hear of wars and rumors of wars. Nation would rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There would be famines, earthquakes, and increasing turmoil across the earth. But he also gave an important warning. Do not be alarmed. These things must happen, but they are only the beginning of birth pains. The image of birth pains is powerful. As the moment of birth approaches, the pains increase in frequency and intensity. In the same way, Jesus suggested that global instability would grow before the fulfillment of God's plan. When we look at the modern world, we see conflicts across many regions. From Eastern Europe to the Middle East, from Africa to Asia, tensions between nations continue to rise. This leads many believers to return to one of the most mysterious passages in the Bible, Ezekiel chapter 38. Ezekiel lived during the Babylonian exile in the 6th century before Christ. In his writings, he described a leader called Gog from the land of Magog, who would lead a coalition of nations against Israel. Several regions are mentioned by name, including Persia, Cush, Put, Gomer, and Beth Togarmah. Over time, interpreters have tried to connect these ancient names with modern regions. Persia clearly refers to the area known today as Iran. Other names are often associated with parts of Turkey, North Africa, and regions north of the Black Sea. Because of these connections, some prophecy teachers believe Ezekiel described a future alliance involving nations that still exist today. However, scholars do not all agree. Some believe Ezekiel was referring to enemies known in his own time. Others interpret the prophecy symbolically, representing a larger struggle between forces of good and evil. Regardless of interpretation, the message of the prophecy remains clear. Even when nations gather against Israel, God remains sovereign over history. Ezekiel wrote that this invasion would occur in the latter days, when the people of Israel had been gathered from many nations and restored to their land. For many believers, the re-establishment of Israel in 1948 is seen as a significant moment connected to that description. After centuries of dispersion, Jewish people from around the world returned to their ancestral homeland. Another prophecy often discussed comes from the book of Zechariah. In chapter 12, Jerusalem is described as a heavy stone for all nations. Anyone who tries to move it will injure themselves. Jerusalem remains one of the most contested cities in the world. It holds deep significance for Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and decisions about the city frequently trigger global reactions. Because of this, some readers see Zechariah's words reflected in modern debates about Jerusalem's future.
Another striking prophecy appears in the book of Isaiah concerning Damascus, one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in history. Isaiah wrote that Damascus would one day become a heap of ruins. For centuries, Readers have wondered whether that prophecy refers to an event in ancient history or something yet to come. These passages remind us that biblical prophecy is complex. Many prophecies appear to unfold over long periods and may contain multiple layers of meaning. Yet one theme appears again and again throughout Scripture. God is not absent from history. In the book of Joel, the prophet describes a time when nations gather in what he calls the Valley of Decision, a moment when God judges the actions of nations. For believers, this carries a profound message. History is not random. Human decisions matter, and justice ultimately belongs to God. But the Bible's message is not meant to produce fear. When Jesus spoke about wars and global turmoil, he also told his followers not to panic. Instead, he encouraged them to remain watchful, faithful, and grounded in truth. The central message of Christianity is not about predicting headlines. It is about hope. The same scriptures that speak about judgment also speak about redemption, forgiveness, and the promise that God will not abandon those who trust in him. The world may experience conflict and uncertainty, but the biblical story ultimately points toward restoration. That is why discussions about prophecy should lead us to a deeper question. If God truly stands behind history, what does that mean for our lives today? For some people, these prophecies spark curiosity. For others, they inspire a deeper search for faith and understanding. Whatever your perspective may be, the most important step is to read the scriptures for yourself. Explore the words of Ezekiel. Read Matthew chapter 24. Compare interpretations and consider what these passages might mean. The Bible has influenced civilizations for thousands of years, and its message continues to challenge people to think about the future of humanity. As world events unfold, many will continue asking whether ancient prophecies connect to modern headlines. The answer may not be simple, but the search for truth is always worth pursuing. Perhaps the greatest lesson from these passages is not fear about the future, but awareness. Awareness that history is moving forward. Awareness that human choices matter. And awareness that faith, hope, and wisdom are needed now more than ever. Because sometimes the most powerful insights about the present can come from words written thousands of years ago.